Let's go, folks. Time for the Gibby Show.
How you doing, baseball fans? Welcome to another edition of the Gibby Show, presented by Miller Lite, the official beer of Major League Baseball and the Gibby Show. I'm John Arezzi. He's back from a weekend in Toronto where he appeared at the Sports Card Expo and also a charity event. He's the former two-time manager of the Toronto Blue Jays, a member of the 1986 World Champion New York Mets, the co-author of the best-selling book, Gibby, Tales of a Baseball Lifer, and narrator of the audio book as well. He is the namesake of this podcast, a true baseball lifer, John Gibbons. Gibby, how you doing?
Johnny, good, doing good, man. Yeah, made a quick trip up there to Toronto, and gosh, I love that place. What a great, had a good time. Saw some old friends, signed a few autographs. Now I'm back home.
Back home, but it was a good weekend. You met a lot of the fans at the Sports Card Expo, and then you had a really special event, a smaller event on Sunday. So you had a really good weekend up there.
Yes, I did. Dave Bedini, an old friend of mine, another musician, and he's got this little newspaper shop on the west end of Toronto up there. Went up there and it was a little question and answer, and yeah, it was a good time.
Very, very cool. I got a question for you right off the top here. How big of a Rush fan are you?
Me, I'm like everybody else, brother. Yeah, we'll find out today. We'll find out later. No, I'm a huge Rush fan. They're a Canadian band, but they're so big down in South Texas. But they're big everywhere, big all over the world, right? But I can remember in high school, everybody listened to that. When I first heard them, it was like, it was a heavy charge and pounded band. And there was only three of them, right? But I can remember where my first found out about him and started listening to him was a high school buddy of mine, one of my best friends growing up. I don't know. It was Christmas time, and for some reason we exchanged gifts. I don't know. I've never done that with a friend of mine, only family stuff. And I can remember we said, well, let's get each other an album or something, right? And so I got him a Judas Priest album. I don't remember which one it was, but he gave me a Rush album, A Farewell to Kings. And that's kind of where it all started. There's just something about Texas. Loved them, like most people do.
Like everybody did in college. I'm a little older than you, and when I was in college, that was kind of like we discovered Rush, and it was just phenomenal. And what a storied history that band has. And the reason I'm talking about all of this, Gibby, is that today on the show, Geddy Lee is going to join us for Gabbing with Gibby, and it's going to be such an incredible segment. We just can't wait for it. So we have something really cool to look forward to in just a little bit when Geddy Lee joins us today. It's going to be wonderful.
Yeah, Geddy's a huge Toronto Blue Jays fan, a huge baseball fan in general. And I got to meet him when I came back my second time going into the 2013 season. They came through San Antonio and played at the end of I think it was November or something in 2012. And so the Blue Jays, through the PR guy, got some tickets, and I went down here and saw him in San Antonio. And then after the show, I got to go backstage, brought my family to meet him, right? And he all he wanted to do was talk baseball, man. And he's dropping stats on me and all that. I'm going, damn, I better watch what I say to this guy, because he's I'm not gonna be able to fool him, But he was so into baseball. He studied. He was a huge fan, and he goes to a lot of Blue Jays games, and he's one of the good guys. He's a normal guy. That's what really makes him so unique. He's as successful as they've been, and he's been the lead guy in that band. But he's a normal guy, man, that likes a lot of the normal things we like.
That's exactly right. And his his baseball passion and the fact that he goes to the Blue Jays games and he scores all the games, and his incredible collection of baseball memorabilia, which there's going to be an auction December 6th at Christie's. And I just can't believe what he's accumulated. So we're going to look forward to that interview. It's going to be coming up on Gabbing with Gibby. But we also have latest Blue Jays news and rumors to discuss. Baseball Managers musical chairs are being filled with some surprising choices. We'll go over it all here. And then, inspired by our friends over at Miller Lite, we're going to have another roast and toast. But Gibby, let's get right to the leadoff. The Blue Jays are in the process, obviously, of putting together their wish list for 2024. with the free agency class now established now, the baseball winter meetings less than a month away. The Jays are making news with some news, an associate manager hire, which we're going to discuss, and there's some trade rumors that are raising some eyebrows. First, let's talk about the announcement the Jays made on the hiring of DeMarlo Hale as the club's associate manager under John Schneider. Hale rejoins the Blue Jays for his 22nd season on a major league coaching staff. He spent the last 3 seasons as the bench coach for the Guardians. He served as the Blue Jays bench coach from 2013 to 2018, helping you lead that team to the AL postseason. He comes with 9 years of managerial experience and 5 years of playing experience in the minor leagues. Gibby, what do you think of Hale rejoining the Blue Jays? He's a guy, obviously, you're very familiar with.
Best move they'll make all season right here. When I saw that, I thought, you know what a great move right there, right? Number one, you're not going to find a better guy than DeMarlo Hale. We worked together in the minor leagues down in the Hawaiian Winter League, and I don't know if real quick story that we were roommates down there, right? He was the manager,
Oh.
I was his coach, but we lived together in this condo in the Hawaiian Winter League. We're down there for we came from this. I think we were both in the Florida State League at the time. Anyway, so we kind of made a pact that, hey, one of us gets a big league manager job, the other would take the other one over there as a coach, right? And then, of course, he had been in the big leagues with the Red Sox, but when I came back a second go around, we said we got to get DeMarlo over here, right? So, but more, he's such a good baseball guy. The players love him. You never hear. This is one of those guys you never hear a bad thing about him, right? And he's all reliable. When I saw that, I don't know I got to find out though. What the heck's associate manager? Is that like assistant manager, vice president?
I never heard that term before. I was going to ask you about it. What is an associate manager? What does that mean?
I don't know. Maybe it sounds smarter than a bench coach. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, but doesn't that then get Mattingly upset because now he's gotten new responsibilities as well? So isn't it kind of like the Jays are having 2 bench coaches right now?
Yeah, you know what? It's got to be good to be Schneider, man. Now you don't have to do anything, man. Just turn these boys up and just make occasional walk to the mound, No, you know what? It's a really good coaching staff they have there, and of course you can't leave out Pete Walker.
Of course not.
Business, yeah, they're in good hands. But I thought that was a tremendous move, and I think it'll help everything out.
Very cool. They also announced the hiring of a third base coach, bringing in Carlos Fables, who coached for 17 years in the Red Sox organization, lots of experience there. He's going to replace Luis Rivera, who retired after this season. Gibby, anything you could tell us about Carlos? Is this a good move for Toronto, bringing a guy with this much experience in to be at the third base line and third base coach?
Yeah, it's got to be. He did it for a lot of years in Boston. Tough place to do it. I can remember because DeMarlo was Boston's third base coach a few years, right? And we used to talk and laugh, and he said how tough it was because they're ruthless, man. They hammer their own coaches there, man, in Boston. So this guy's he may be a little worn out. He's probably relieved. He's going to finally to some sanity. But with that kind of experience, obviously he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, so it seems like the Jays now have really kind of completed this their changes on the coaching front. So you got to basically, in your opinion, John, the right moves were made with retooling the coaching staff and giving Mattingly new responsibilities.
Yeah, I guess Donnie will take a little more of that hitting stuff because that's the one area they took all the heat, and so I think the fans expected some, but hey, you know what? Bottom line is the coach's job to prepare these guys, and they got to go out and do the job. And we can't lose sight that they've been to the postseason 3 out of 4 years, I think it is now, but they're just looking to get over the hump. But you're not going to find a better coaching staff, that's for sure. And I think the fact that Mattingly probably going to take a little more active role in the offensive side of it is really, really important.
And of course, Donnie Baseball was what a prolific hitter he was. So we look forward to all of these coaches coming together and seeing what the team is going to look like next year. So we're going to go into a couple of those eyebrow-raising trade rumors that have been circulating over the last several days with the GM meetings taking place out west. The St. Louis Dispatch's Derek Good reported that the Cardinals are looking for pitching and have zeroed in on one possible candidate, and that's Alek Manoah. The Cardinals have been fielding trade calls on outfielder Dylan Carlson, and the Blue Jays have been one of those teams expressing serious interest in Carlson. The 25-year-old switch hitter appeared in only 76 games, however, last year in 2023 due to an ankle issue, which ultimately required some season-ending surgery. He hit only .219 last season with 5 home runs. Carlson was a former top prospect for the Cardinals. He is under team control for the next 3 years, actually. And he goes for his first round of arbitration this winter. So the Jays and Cardinals, they also have that recent history, completing 3 separate deals in 2023 with Cabrera, Jordan Hicks, and Paul DeJong deals. Ross Atkins said at the GM meetings that Manoah has been working hard and expects him to have a leg up for that 5th slot in the rotation. So there's a lot swirling around here with this rumor, Gibby. Do you think moving Manoah after a down season is the right thing for the Jays to explore? And does this potential trade, Manoah for Carlson, make any sense for you? Or would you rather see Manoah like, let's see what we got in spring training?
Yeah, that's, I'm a big Manoah fan, in like most people are, right? And you look what he did 2 years ago. He was the ace of the staff, or the so-called ace, right? He pitched in the playoffs. He was really their workhorse, in the young up and coming superstar type. And then he went through his struggles for whatever reason, and I don't know what's behind the scenes, if there's been some disagreements, some bad blood, who knows, right? But now, if he had just been average Joe, let's say, like a run-of-the-mill pitcher, when he was good, might be a little differently. But for me personally, the guy that was that good, I got to find out what I got, because good starting pitching is so hard to come by. I know the Blue Jays are looking for more offense possibly, but to me, I pitching's going to win it, man, for you in the long run. You got to have that, and I'd hate to take a chance and lose this guy. Even though I wouldn't even limit him by saying he's got a shot at being leg up on the fifth spot.
Wow. That was surprising.
He was number 1 not too long ago.
He was.
Keep don't put any limitations on the kid. And but like I said, nobody but the guys in the organization, on the team, know if there's any animosity, or there's if things went sour, because that happens in sports all the time. It's not like it's you can't. It's nothing personal. It's nothing against any one organization over another. If that's the case, they maybe smart to move him if there's some conflict there.
Yeah, sometimes you get your welcome is worn out for whatever the reason is, but it just seems like this is not even kind of a lateral move. But we'll see how it unfolds over the course of the off season. Follow up for you, Gibby, is Toronto's top prospect, 21-year-old Ricky Tiedemann, who is also the 31st highest ranking prospect in the entire major leagues. He just won the Arizona Fall League's AFL Pitcher of the Year, so we congratulate him. He's only 21 years old. He went 2-1 with a 2.50 ERA, 23-8 strikeout to walk ratio across 4 starts in the Arizona League, holding opposing hitters to only 1 home run in 18 innings. What do you think about Ricky? Especially if Manoah goes, would he be plugged into the 5th starting role, or do you think, based on his history, that he really needs a good solid year in Buffalo at AAA?
Well, Johnny, he's their top dog coming up. Not just for the Blue Jays, but in all of baseball. I would expect they're going to be a little cautious with him, because he had an arm issue last year, right? So he's limited in the number of innings he can pitch. And you can't forget too that Manoah a couple of years ago, or when he made like a jump, a 100 inning jump that year that he was so good in the playoff. And there's always, the common sense tells you it doesn't mean it happened, that maybe that led to some of his problems, that he's had recently. So that being the case, they got to make sure this guy gets plenty of innings before he gets there, because it's a different game in the big leagues. It's not like there's times the guys that come up from the minor leagues are called on to do more things, right? Under pressure. Where they hit but if you never give them the chance in the minor leagues to do that, they don't have enough innings. You're pushing them, and that's when some problems can happen. But he's going to be a real good one. But I would guess they'd be cautious with him. So I would think they would take their time, and that'd probably be a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. 21 years old, southpaw. I mean, it's going to be great to watch him develop and eventually make the major league team. Another rumor circulating over the past several days, and this one also comes out of the GM meetings. It involves the Los Angeles Dodgers and Blue Jays all-star shortstop Bo Bichette. Juan Toribio of MLB.com reports that the Dodgers GM Brandon Gomes is said to have his eye on two potential shortstops, and it stems from the uncertainty of shortstop Gavin Lux, who is continuing to recover from a torn ACL and LCL, as well as right hamstring tear. If healthy, Lux could be the starting shortstop in 2024. However, the Dodgers are continuing to monitor a trade market that involved Milwaukee's Willie Adams, Toronto's Bichette. Gibby, in consideration of the huge haul that Jays would demand for a Bichette trade to the Dodgers, if you're Ross Atkins, do you consider this, especially with how popular Bo is with the Toronto fan base in the city, do you think it's based in any type of reality, or would Toronto fans go crazy if they trade Bichette to the Dodgers?
Yeah, you know what? There's got to be something there to bring it up anyway. But there's so many. I mean, everybody throws everything up against the wall and hopes something sticks, And there's a lot of times there's rumors and there's really nothing to it. Maybe somebody threw some names around and somebody's okay, whatever. But I mean, it would make perfect sense for the Dodgers if they could get Bo's a Hollywood looking dude anyway,
He is,
but I would be surprised, especially when the Blue Jays are looking for the big question mark is where's their extra offense they needed this year, right? And Bo was a big part of that. So you take that away, yeah, they would have to get a pretty good return on that. Who knows though? It's coming not too far off that where you got to sign him and Vladdy Jr. to long-term deals, and maybe the question is, can you afford to pay both of those? And there's so much that goes into constructing a Major League Baseball team, and it's not just all the talent level when you're putting the best team there. There's contract considerations. There's a lot of things. Sometimes there's some tension. It's been in baseball forever. Player doesn't like it here. They don't agree with the front office, or they feel slighted. That's just part of it in every sport, And so some guys are dealt that way. They think you and I were talking about that. Kevin Mitchell, when he's with the Mets, everybody thought, the front office thought that he was causing the problems with Gooden and Strawberry, which, Kev grew up on the rough streets, but he wasn't the problem. As individuals, we bring on most of our problems ourselves. But I think so. They traded Kev, and Kevin went on to win the MVP out there in San Francisco. So sometimes you do need to move guys because they're problem childs, and it makes a team better. But it's not always the case, but it does happen. So.
Yeah, and sometimes the teams make wrong decisions by getting rid of somebody that actually they shouldn't have. So we've seen it all.
But we got to keep in mind too. I mean, it's never easy to run a team and place things, and because you can't have everything you always want. I mean, there is limitations, but that's why some guys do it better than others.
That is true. You are listening to the Gibby Show, presented by our friends at Miller Lite, and as we do each and every week, John, we talk about that light beer that tastes like a real beer. It's so anytime is Miller time, and now that holidays are approaching, it's always good to be able to bring some wonderful Miller Lite to your parties or your family get-togethers, because there's nothing like a Miller Lite, man.
Hey, well, maybe we have to pop one to salute Geddy today. You never know.
Yes,
Not a bad idea.
It's not a bad idea at all.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
Miller Lite, so happy to be associated with them. They are the official beer of Major League Baseball, and of course, right here at the Gibby Show. Gibby, as a former Major League manager, been there. There's been a lot of musical chairs going around over the last couple of weeks. I mean, the last time that we got together and did the show, these moves were not made. And now in the course of a week, you got, there were 6 managerial openings. There are only 2 or even maybe 1 left after Ken Rosenthal broke some news about the Milwaukee Brewers. The biggest news is Craig Counsell. He passed on the New York Mets, which everyone thought he was going to. And then he passed on going back to Milwaukee. Instead, he goes to the rival Chicago Cubbies, signing a 5-year, $40 million deal. And the Mets settle on Carlos Mendoza, the Yankees' longtime bench coach. But I want to get into the Counsell thing with you here. One of his objectives was to increase the pay for managers across the board, because there's always been this: managers are underpaid. However, he goes to the rival 90 miles away from Milwaukee, in Chicago now. What's your thoughts on this move that Counsell made? Was it for the bigger picture to really create awareness that managers need to be paid appropriately? Or was it just kind of like he made the decision based on making the biggest amount of money and going to the rival?
Yeah, well, no, from what I understand about Counsell, he's that kind of guy. He looks out for others, and hey, I tip my hat to him for that. That doesn't necessarily mean that the other teams are going to follow suit, because there's kind of a funny feeling in baseball. And I don't remember who said it a few years ago. Maybe it was back when Moneyball and all that was starting. That don't quote me. It's managers are really irrelevant. Anybody can do it. They're not that important to a team, and blah blah blah. Because, and especially nowadays when you look at everything's run by heavily by analytics, they think, well, we can get anybody to plug in a number and move the guys around the field according to those numbers. I mean, that's kind of the thinking is, and I mean, it's perfect example is that where you see a lot of guys that are getting these jobs too, that they don't go and spend any time in the minor leagues to gain experience, And it's like, well, that's kind of the mindset as well. It's anybody can do it, You take some monkey and put him in there, and he'll figure it out. Give him the right numbers, right? That's kind of the which it's unfortunate. So I tip my hat to Counsell, because you know what, he's standing up for those guys, and being an ex-manager, if you look at all professional sports, everybody's overpaid anyway. When you look at the reality in the real world. But hey, if you can get it, go for it. But the fact that he went to the main rival of the Milwaukee Brewers, and he's a hometown kid, I think that's what shocked everybody.
Yes.
But that's nothing new for the Cubs, because remember they hired Joe Madden a few years ago. They bounced Rick Renteria, and then David Ross got it here. So
yeah, David Ross just got it. Boom. He got taken out. Didn't know what was going on. No one knew what was going on. So it was quite surprising. And our friend Kenny Rosenthal kind of broke that news last week. And he also broke some news about the new manager from Milwaukee. Pat Murphy's expected to be named the new manager. Yeah, based on what Kenny Rosenthal says and reports on. Murph, Craig Counsell's former coach at Notre Dame, and his bench coach in Milwaukee from 2015 to 23, will now become his rival in the NL Central. Yeah. So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch.
Hey, Murph's a good guy. When I managed a Double-A team for the Padres in the Texas League in my hometown here in 2012, was it? Murph was out there coaching with the Padres as well. I got to know him a little bit. Funny guy, good guy.
Yeah.
You know, and yeah, he'll do great.
Other moves that have been made, it kind of a no-brainer on the Astros with the retirement of Dusty Baker, bench coach, longtime bench coach. Joe Espada gets that shot finally, so he'll be in the manager's seat over for Houston, and in Cleveland. The Guardians have hired Mariners bullpen and quality control coach Stephen Boat.
Here we go again. Quality control. What the hell's quality?
I know.
Control?
I mean, he was the bullpen coach and quality control coach, so now he's got a gig as the manager in Cleveland. And finally, the Angels made some news because everyone was saying, Buck Showalter has the inside track on that job. And lo and behold, the Angels signed 71-year-old Ron Washington from the Braves to be their next skipper. And he's now the oldest manager in the game. Washington has not managed for 14 years, Gibby, leading the Rangers to back-to-back World Series appearances, 2010 and 11. He gets a 2-year deal. So that's kind of a surprise, and that's kind of cool that Ron Washington is coming back to manage the Los Angeles Angels. Yeah,
Wash is a good one. Raw, we call him Raw. I coached with him. He was my manager, and I was his assistant coach in Columbia, South Carolina. Yeah, it was Columbia. Was that 94 maybe? And probably the most fun, entertaining year I've ever had in my life. He's a good guy. One of the best infield instructors around. He hasn't been managing in a while, but he's been on the field, and just hey, I'm happy for it. You mentioned Showalter. I think Showalter would have been Perry Maniason's pick, out there, the general manager, but out there the owner's calling all the shots, and you probably want to Wash, even though there is a connection with Maniason, and so yeah, good for Wash, man.
Yeah.
Hey, plus he's bringing in Ryan Goins, old Blue Jay infielder, to be his infield instructor, because they knew each other through Atlanta when Go-Go was playing there. So another guy we're happy for.
Yeah, absolutely. There's only one remaining job open currently, and that's with San Diego. So we'll wait to see who eventually gets in that chair. And that's going to wrap up the leadoff, Gibby. Now it's time for Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons.
Rock on.
Rock on is exactly right. For more than 25 years, Tim Hortons guests have come to know and love Tim Hortons' annual Smile Cookie campaign. Now, to celebrate the gift of kindness and to help make a difference this holiday season, Tim Hortons is launching its first ever national holiday Smile Cookie campaign. Right now, November 13th to the 19th, 100% of the proceeds from each holiday Smile Cookie sold will be donated directly to local charities and community groups across Canada, including Tim Hortons Foundation camps. The Tim Hortons Holiday Smile Cookie has a base of white chocolate, sugar cookie infused with red and green sprinkles, all while being adorned with white icing to form the iconic Smile Cookie smile. And the campaign has been created to give guests an opportunity to give back this holiday season and help continue making a difference in their communities.
Yeah, hey, nobody does it better than Tim Hortons as far as work in the community and donating, and it's very admirable, and so get out there, buy you some cookies.
It's only $1.50.
It's only less than a toonie, and help support your communities all across Canada. Yeah,
one thing about Tim's, they're always community minded. Always. Yes. And some of the initiatives that they do is just incredible. And I think it's, as you do, this is a great campaign.
Good food, though. Good food and good coffee, good drinks. So
absolutely.
You got to have that no matter what.
Today on Gabbing with Gibby, brought to you by Tim Hortons, we are thrilled to bring on a true legend in the world of music and one of the most passionate Canadian baseball fans ever. He's a member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Along with his bandmates, they've sold a staggering 40 million albums. His collection of vintage wines, bass guitars, and baseball memorabilia are well known as well. He is best known as the lead vocalist, bassist, and keyboardist for one of the most successful and beloved bands in rock and roll history, Rush. His new book, My Effin Life, was released today, along with an audio book which includes 2 brand new songs. Close to 300 items will be auctioned on December 6th at Christie's. For many historic items from his huge collection, billed as selections from the collection of Geddy Lee. And a new docuseries will also be released on Paramount Plus called Geddy Lee Asks, Are Bass Players Humans Too? That comes out December 5th. He launched his book tour last night at the historic Beacon Theater in New York City, hosted by Paul Rudd. We might have to change the name of this segment to Gabbing with Geddy. It's our honor. It's our honor to bring on Geddy Lee of Rush to today's show. Geddy, you're one busy guy. Thanks for making the time to be with us today. Welcome to Gabbing with Gibby.
Oh, my pleasure to be here. Just listening to your introductions made me very tired. I think
Hey, obviously, Geddy, we needed a ratings boost, man. That's why we tried so hard to get.
Hey, Gibby, I'm always happy to talk to you wherever we are, whether it's at lunch or on Zoom. That's my pleasure, honestly.
Yeah. Geddy, I was fortunate enough to get a chance to meet you, when I was managing there in Toronto. And, you guys were huge all over the world, your band Rush, and really big down here in South Texas. So I knew your music. And then, I got a chance to meet you up there, and I got to learn what a great baseball fan you were, particularly the Blue Jays. And it's like, the best thing about it, he's a normal guy. You're back there scoring the game. I can't even score a game. You're back there doing so we can't thank you enough for coming on here.
Oh, it's just my pleasure. Anytime we get to talk ball, especially with you, is always fun. I still share some quotes you've imparted on me over the years with my other baseball nuts, and they're always they're always winners. I got to tell you,
they're scratching their head going, what? Well, you got it started again last night. You're back on the road. You did it was your first show, correct?
Yeah, first
in
show.
New York.
Yeah, very first, really the first time I've ever done a proper book tour like this. In 2019, I did a tour for my first book, The Big Beautiful Book of Bass. But it was, signing events and smaller venue chats we did. But this is more of a kind of a larger scale thing. So it was quite an interesting evening, and the crowd was unbelievably rousing, and they were throwing a lot of love at me, which I certainly appreciated. And my guest host for the evening, Paul Rudd, was just as affable and as lovable as you would imagine him to be. He's just a really great guy, generous man. And so we had a lot of fun and told a lot of stories about my Effin Life.
Hey, I don't think you could find a better title than you came up with that, huh?
Yeah, not for me. I tried to call it My Life in Comedy, but the publisher thought that was a bit obscure.
So now you're in Philly tonight, right? Is that right?
Tomorrow night in Philly, yeah.
Tomorrow night in Philly, and then
then we're on to DC, Washington, DC, and then Boston and Cleveland, and then heading to Canada, Montreal, Vancouver, and down the West Coast.
Yeah, you were saying early when you walked on stage last night, you felt a little naked, huh? You didn't have your boys with you.
That's right. It was the first time I walked onto that kind of a stage without at least my buddy Al beside me, and we've been friends since we were 16 years old. So, and playing together since that time, with the exception of the past few years. But I made sure I scattered pictures of him around the set, so that every once in a while, if I needed a little boost, a little love from my man, I could just look behind and see him in some ridiculous outfit just to make him smile. So he was with me in spirit.
But in reality, he was up on the golf course somewhere, maybe, or
probably. Where's Al? Golfing.
That's right. He's on the 19th hole right now.
Yeah, he loves it.
Johnny, what do you got for him?
There's so much here, but I wanted to start on the baseball stuff with when did your love for baseball begin?
Well, when I was a kid in Toronto, we were kind of an American League city. When we got the games a Saturday. Remember when games used to be on early Saturday afternoon?
Yes,
nice. Kids could watch them.
Game of the week.
Yeah, game of the week. And we got a lot of Tigers, Yankees games. And so, I sort of became enamored at that age with the game. And my heroes were guys like Al Kaline, Norm Cash, and Mickey Mantle, of course, Roger Maris in that great year, and Whitey Ford, great names from that era. And of course, I tried out for my local ball team, didn't make it because I really wasn't very sporty, but I loved the game. And I would go down once in a while to see the Toronto Maple Leaf Ball Club. They had a stadium downtown near the lakeshore, near the old Tip Top Tailors building in Toronto.
Okay.
They were a farm club of the Tigers. And in fact, Sparky Anderson played on that team at that time.
Oh.
Yeah. So that was my sort of first love. And then, of course, I got into music, forgot all about baseball. And I had too much work to do, woodshedding and trying to learn how to play bass as fast as I could. So, and it wasn't until the late 70s when I'd be waking up after a 400-mile drive from one city to another after a gig. I turn on the tube, eating the scraps I could beg room service to bring up to me, and trying to get breakfast in a Holiday Inn at 2:00. Anyway, and I started noticing that aside from One Life to Live and the other soap operas, there was WGN showing the Cubbies, and that's Superstation. TBS started showing the Braves, so you could see day games on TV.
Day games
in those days, yeah.
Lost art.
Yeah. So I started watching them, and I got the fever all over again, and it was great fun. And when I got home after that tour, I called up the Jays front office, and I bought 2 tickets, my season tickets, and I've kept them ever since. But that's what started it.
And it gets into your blood. Go ahead, Gibby.
No, good seats too, man. Perfect seats. Did you always have those ones behind home plate?
Well, that was back in Exhibition Stadium.
Oh, that's okay. That's right.
I was over the dugout. I was behind the visitors' dugout at that time. And then when they moved to the Rogers Center, of course, Sky Dome, because I'd been there since '79, I guess it was, they offered me, a better seat, which I took. And then when they built the In the Action, they offered me those seats, which of course I took because I love the idea of being behind the plate and watching the break on the pitches and watching a pitcher set up a batter, to me, is the most fascinating aspect of the game.
Hey, this is what a lot of people understand, but you're really into baseball. When I came back to manage the Blue Jays the second time, I think I got hired the end of 2012, and you guys were coming down. You were touring. You had a show in San Antonio, Texas. So I contacted the Blue Jays, and they got me some tickets. And I brought my wife and a couple of my kids out to the show. I had a blast, right? And then they said you can come out backstage after the show. So I went back there. I'm going, all right. I want to talk some music, man. Even though I'm not very musically inclined. And you just wanted to talk baseball, and the things you were saying. I mean, this guy's into it, man. I better be on my toes here, man. If you were reeling off stats and things, I'm going, dang.
Yeah, I'm pretty nerdy about the game, and most of the friends I've met in the game that I've been fortunate enough to meet, they all complain about the same thing. They want to talk about music, and I just want to grill them about baseball. So we have to do a trade-off,
They are that's fair, man. But that's kind of the way it is. Guys that are in sports, they all want to be in a band, right? And
that's
then guys,
right. That's exactly right. So many guys I met in the game, they're all musicians. Randy Johnson's a drummer. Mark Langston plays guitar. These are 2 of my dearest friends still to the day. Warren Cromartie, who was the first ball player really I became friends with, he's a drummer. And he had his own studio, in fact, and he was really serious about trying to make music back then. And Bryn Smith, one of my dearest, oldest baseball fans, he's not a musician. He's a golfer. So, but just a lovely guy. And so I've been lucky to meet so many really interesting players that have had long and impactful careers. And most of them have a great fondness for what I do. And it's like you say, Gibby, everybody wants to be everybody else.
I know. Does that mean we're never satisfied? We never. Yeah. You know. Okay, so then how did you start to get into the collecting end of it with the?
Well, I was on the road and I had a day off in Kansas City, and I was walking past this shop. It was called The Legacy. And I looked in the window and they had these pictures of presidents with signed documents and all kinds of stuff like that. And so I was intrigued. So I walked in the store. And in one part of the store, they had photos, signed photos by baseball players and a couple of signed baseballs. I thought, wow, this is pretty cool. And previous to that, let me backtrack a bit. Previous to that, I had a friend who worked for the Jays who used to give me a set of American League signed baseballs as a gift. He was a fan. And so he would give me one every year, like about 8 or 9 baseballs signed by American League teams. I just kept them in a box. I didn't display them really. But when I walked into the shop, I saw this signed picture. It was signed by Satchel Paige. And I thought, well, I knew who Satchel Paige was. And I thought, wow, that's really a cool item. And there was another one that was a picture of the shot heard around the world, Bobby Thompson. And so I bought those 2 items. And I thought, well, these will be cool in my home studio or my office or something. And that was the end of it. But then it started working in my crazy collector's brain. Hey, maybe it'd be great to have a ball signed by Babe Ruth. Can you imagine that? And so I called the owner of the store and I said, hey, can you find me a Babe Ruth? I mean, that must be the first question any collector asks.
Yeah, yeah.
And so eventually he did find me a signed Babe Ruth baseball, and that just set me off. And from then on, I had to learn everything about the game. I studied the game. I read all kinds of fiction and nonfiction about the game. I pored over the baseball encyclopedia. I loved looking at the old nicknames that these ball players had.
Yeah.
Early part of the 20th century. There were 3, in the history of the game, there were 3 ball players that all had the nickname Death to Flying Things. Now, that's a weird fact. So
who are they?
Yeah, one of them is a guy I played recently. I can't remember the name of the first guy, but one of them is a guy who was a fairly recent player. But anyway, my point is that I just became fascinated, and I looked at the study of baseball history very much as the study of American history. They're really aligned. And so I got to understand more about the country I was spending so much time in touring through the lens of this baseball hobby.
Introducing Tim's new Holiday Smile Cookie. 100% of proceeds support local charities, community groups, and Tim's campers in your neighborhood. Buy a Holiday Smile Cookie at Tim's to give back to your community.
That's awesome. Hey, I got to ask you though, did you ever see the movie Sandlot?
I don't think I have. Actually.
Oh, well, you got to watch this with your grandkids because when my kids were young, we used to watch it. It's one of the best shows. But the whole idea of the story, this group of kids, I'm not going to ruin the story, but they hit a ball over this fence and this big old giant dog. So this guy has to go find a ball to use it. And his stepfather had a Babe Ruth autograph ball. So he took it off the shelf and they started playing with it. And then they figured out it was Babe Ruth. You got to watch. I'm
going to watch it for sure.
Grandkids. Absolutely. It's called The Sandlot. You'll love it. I guarantee it.
Great. I'm always looking for movies to watch with my grandson. That's great.
It'll be perfect. What do you got, Johnny?
Well, the historic collection that you have that's going up for auction at Christie's, I went through it. I read about it. But there was one item that I have to talk to you about. I'm a massive Beatles fan. My first concert ever was seeing them at Shea Stadium. Right. I was a little kid. One item listed in the upcoming Christie's auction taking place December 6th. Almost gave me a heart attack. As I'm a huge Beatles collector as well. Up for auction is a signed baseball of all 4 Beatles from Shea Stadium from August 15th, 1965. Yep. And I do have a follow-up on this. How did you get that piece? And is it the only one of its kind that you know of?
I've never seen another one. so it may very well be the only one of its kind. And I bought it. I believe I bought it at auction quite a few years ago, and it was authenticated by this gentleman named Frank Caiazzo. Yeah, who was, of course, the premier expert on Beatles signatures. And so I've just kept it for all these years, and it came with a ticket. It came with a ticket from the concert. And, I have other things that are signed by other bands like the Rolling Stones. I'm not selling the Rolling Stones ball for the simple reason that it was shy one signature, Bill Wyman. And because I've had the good fortune to meet and know Bill, I asked him if he would sign it and complete it. And when someone does you a favor like that, you can't turn around and sell it. So there's no way. I just can't part with that. But the Beatles ball I've had for many years, and I'm sure some other fan and lover of the game and Beatles will appreciate it. So it's time to set it free.
Yeah, such a rare piece.
Hey, Johnny, though, I got something better than that.
What is it?
Geddy gave me a signed ball, a Rush signed ball after they went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Him and the boys, man.
Yeah,
I'll take that one.
Yeah, that's a goodie.
Man,
that's a real goodie.
That's a goodie. That's very historic. But I sold off my collection. I had a Caiazzo authenticated piece by all four. I had bought one initially that was fake, which was gave me more of an obsession to I got to get a real one. But there was something when I sold the collection off in 2018, along with my Mets collection, the buyers of both of these items were very ecstatic, and it leads me to ask you about a quote. And you were quoted as saying, "Baseballs, no one owns them. They're like houses. You take care of them for a while, and they move on to the next person, the next custodian." So I'd like to know, and I'd like to hear about your explanation about that philosophy to us, because you kind of feel the same way. When you have this massive collection, you want to know that it's going to the right person, the next custodian.
That's right. Well, I'm not getting younger. I have a lot of things in my life that have come into my possession that I feel very passionate about, and nothing goes on forever, and I have so many baseballs. Honestly, I have, in my original collection is close to 600. And so about half of that is now going for sale. So I have so many great memories that I can keep. Many of them I plan to pass on to my grandson. But these things, it was just really time to move them on. I haven't really paid attention to that collection in quite a few years because I've been busy collecting vintage bass guitars, and I have over 350 of those. So there's just not enough room in my life for everything. And so I just thought it's time. It's just time to move some of them on, and I feel really good about it. It's tough to part with things, but there's no lack of things to love, and they're just items. You fall in love with them and you cherish them for a while, and okay, let someone else pick them up and take care of them, and hopefully they'll take good care of them and they'll survive, through the generations.
They will. Hey, Geddy, before we let you go here, because we know you're a busy man, you're out on the road again, but we've got to ask you about the current Blue Jay team. All right, because I've said this in half jokingly, but I'm serious because I know your knowledge of the game. What do you think about this team? What would you address this offseason?
Well, when the management first changed, when ownership, let Alex go, my feelings about Alex Anthopoulos.
Right.
I'm a little biased because
Mike, me too.
Yeah, he's a friend, and I have incredible respect for him and the way he went about running the Blue Jays. So they brought new people in, so that was hard for me to adapt to. But, they started to impress me when they signed Springer, and they started making some moves, and they had a lot of great draft picks, and I thought they drafted pretty well, and they built an exciting team. And then that terrible game year before last, when they lost the playoff game in spectacularly unpredictable fashion by reliever after reliever giving up multiple hits and fluke plays in the outfield, like the crashing in the outfield and the ball drop, and pulling the pitcher, I thought, way too early in the game, and he still had great stuff. And I didn't really understand what the panic was. And I think in that off season, they kind of panicked and overreacted to that game and changed the culture. You got rid of Gurriel, got rid of Tio. When I understand trying to shore up defense, but they really went from one extreme to another, and they did build a fantastically good defensive team. There's no question about it. But I watched that team a lot this year, and I just felt that something was missing, and I couldn't figure out why. There was a lack of excitement. There was a lack of connection with the fans, in fact. And some of the losses were really tough, one-run losses, or it was just a weird year. And so what happened in the playoffs to me was, how do you pull Barrios? How do you, there's smarter guys about the game than me that are puzzled about that move. And it just didn't make any sense to me. So again, I think there was too much control from above. And I know that, they kind of threw John Schneider under the bus, which I did not think was very cool. At the same time, I didn't think Schneider managed a good game that day. So that's just my opinion. So now it's very interesting to see. Obviously, they have to address the lack of clutch hitting, the lack of power. I think they need a real power bat from the right side, and I think they need another power bat from the left side. They were winning. They had their most success when they had ungodly power, and they've traded that for pitching and defense. Nothing wrong with the pitching. Amazing pitching staff. I give them that. They built incredible pitching and defensive team, but they forgot one thing, and I really think at the deadline they did not do enough to shore up the hitting. I think had they brought a big bat in at the deadline, I think we might have seen a different result in the playoffs. But it's easy to say from my chair here.
No, well, you watch enough games, but if you look at all the Blue Jays teams over the history, the really good ones, you go back into even the late 70s and then in the 90s when they won it, even a couple of our teams in 50, they were power laden, man. You guys have thumpers, and really that's the name of the game nowadays. If you don't have that, because it's proven that home runs win. They're guaranteed runs, and
I'd like to see them go out and get Bellinger. I'd like to see them. Obviously, everyone would like to have Ohtani, but he's probably going to go to a bigger market team. But I'd like to see them get a guy like Jeimer Candelario. I think he would be very useful. He's a good bat, can play first base, third base. There's some good hitters out there, but they're going to have to pay for them. And they just can't mess about. I think if I'm the GM, I'm not messing about. I'm throwing some money, and they've got to throw some money at some guys that they want to keep long term as well. So
they got the money. They got that money.
They got the money. And, people always say, but this guy's expensive, other fans. I'm going, yeah, they got the money. It's not my money. I want them to spend their money.
Exactly. Plus they're raising their cable rates every year. So their money's going somewhere.
Yeah. You got to hand it to them. They have done a good job rebuilding the farm system. Right. No question about it. And some of their moves have been very good, but they're just a brick shy of a load last year, and they failed to pull the trigger at the trade deadline. And I think it cost them going deeper into the playoffs. So this year, I hope they open up the purse strings and bring in some proven hitters. And they, as you know, Gibby, more than anyone, you put another couple of big hitters in that lineup, it affects the way they got to pitch hitters. Every hitter improves. Good hitting is contagious. I really do think that. Yeah.
Well, you know what, that city and that country, they deserve another championship. There's no doubt about it. You agree? Well, listen, we can't thank you enough. Hey, Johnny, to get tickets for Geddy's show along the road here, there's a website they need to go to?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So if you want to go check out the book tour, go to rush.com/Geddy Lee. Also, that Christie's auction, 270 items. Just go to Christie's.com. That auction takes place on December the 6th. And the book is out. The book is out today. You can get it anywhere. And the audiobook has 2 new songs. So, it's been wonderful chatting with you today.
Hey, Geddy. Hey, real quick, I got to tell you a funny story that, it was about your book on bass guitars, right? Right. I got divorced in a couple of years ago, right? And then I met this girl. I was on a dating app, right? I met this girl. And she was a huge Rush fan, and she said she had ordered she was in the mail the book on your book on bass guitars. And I said, oh man, I said, listen, I might be able to get that personalized for you. And she thought I was so full of crap that I was like, and she had no idea that she disappeared. I never heard from her again. I thought, man, Geddy's gonna.
I ruined your love life, Gibby.
But she got a great book anyway. It just wasn't signed.
All right, careful who you tell that to. Then I guess
that's right. Well, Geddy, again, we can't thank you enough, pal. Hopefully see you down the road. And best of luck.
Yeah, Gibby, anytime. Always happy to chat with you. Nice to meet you, and I really appreciate getting a chance to talk baseball with you guys. All my best.
Check out the Sandlot with your grandson.
I will.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks very much. Cheers. Take care of yourselves.
Okay.
That wraps up another Gabbing with Gibby. And Gibby, I mean, what can you say? I got cold chills because of that conversation with Geddy. It was incredible.
Makes you want to join a band, doesn't it?
Heck yeah. I can still rock and roll.
Hey, your voice isn't quite as high as Geddy's.
No, it's not. No. Not at all. But that was that was phenomenal. Now inspired by our friends at Miller Lite, it's time for this week's Roast and Toast. The general managers meeting took place out on the West Coast at the Omni in San Diego. It's usually a 3-day event where all the GMs get together and, they start their conversations. They talk about policies in baseball, and that's where kind of trades begin to unfold. At least seeds are planted. Well, this year at the Omni, they had to cut short the GM meetings because there was a stomach virus that ran rampant, and many Major League Baseball executives, they actually got sick. Full of whatever happened.
Hey, if you don't want to be there, don't go, for crying out loud. You don't have to use that excuse. Anyway.
The reporters stayed at a different hotel. They didn't stay at the Omni. And none of the reporters got sick, but only the baseball executives at the Omni got sick with the stomach flu. So they canceled the last day of the GM meetings. So for this, we're just going to roast the Omni in San Diego and the GM meetings and all of them for getting sick out there.
Hey,
because a lot of them are BSers anyway.
Hey, exactly. They're all full of it, but not anymore, right?
Not anymore, exactly. Not anymore. So that's our roast, and the toast is really polar opposite of that, Gibby. There's no doubt that the biggest free agent of them all, perhaps in the history of Major League Baseball, will also receive the biggest contract ever this offseason. Shohei Ohtani made news outside of that free agent discussion this week. Not all that long ago, Ohtani was a grade schooler in his native Japan, now with a new generation of Japanese children already looking up to him for his on-field success. Ohtani is giving back to his home country. The free agent superstar announced that he will be donating youth gloves to every elementary school in Japan. 60,000 gloves are being distributed across 20,000 schools. And his quote was, "I'm hoping the kids can spend their days happily with lots of energy through baseball," Ohtani said. "I'll be looking forward to sharing the field one day with someone that grew up using this glove." So this week, no brainer, because of his generosity shown by him to his home country and all the kids there, we toast the one and only Shohei Ohtani.
Wow, huh? That I've heard he's a tremendous guy. Obviously I don't know him, but to do something like that, I'd like to be the glove maker. He's getting all this. They're the lucky ones, right? And you know what? That so many good players out there do some nice things, for society and the communities and things like that. A lot of it goes in, people don't even know about it, But when you do something this big, and of course he's Japanese to his fellow countrymen. Does it get any better than that? That just tells you everything you need to know about this guy. It'd be good. I think. Hey, one thing they do over there, the kids, man, is they're very well educated and they study. They can't wait to get those gloves. They get out and toss the balls around, I tell you, that's admirable.
Yeah, that country, baseball is beloved as it is here in the United States.
Yeah.
So that was a major gesture on his part. And everything you've heard about Shohei Ohtani is just, there's nothing negative at all. So we wish him the best in this free agency market, and who knows who's going to land him, but we'll check it out and we'll follow it right here at the Gibby Show.
Corner booths, sticky floors, weekdays that feel like weekends. You never forget the way some things taste. Miller Lite, great taste, 90 calories. Tastes like Miller time.
And Gibby, that's going to about wrap up this edition. What a great show today. For John Gibbons, this is John Arezzi. We'll be back next week to talk more postseason baseball with you right here at the Gibby Show. Have a great week, everyone.
Hey, remember, get out, get that book, get Geddy's new book, My Effin Life. Enjoy it.
Exactly.